Jalen Rose, sometimes we always talk about when we were right about things. But I was wrong about something. I really thought Carmelo Anthony was going to be additive for the Houston Rockets. I thought he was going to be great for them offensively and hurt them a little bit defensively. Well, there's been a lot of conflicting reports over the weekend about what exactly is happening between Carmelo and the Houston Rockets, but one thing is very clear. It's not going well, and it really doesn't look like it's going to continue. There's been a lot of reports from inside and outside the organization that they will no longer be playing together. Carmelo Anthony has played his last game as a Houston Rocket. I have so many questions for you. But first, let's just listen to Chris Paul discuss it.
Melo has been great here, you know what I mean? That's like a brother to me, you know what I mean? So I don't know what's being said or whatnot, but Melo has been great, working hard every day, you know what I mean? So, man, Melo is a future Hall of Famer, you know what I mean? And that's me saying that, and that's knowing that. So, like I said, we'll see what happens.
What's going to happen next, Jalen?
So, anytime you hear former players or current players broach this topic, it's really sensitive.
Explain.
This is a really sensitive
This is sensitive?
topic. Yes, because in order to become a veteran, you have to reinvent yourself, which means changing. This is why some of your favorite artists that have been in the game for a really long time have had multiple nicknames. Look at Sean Carter. Look at Sean Combs. Like, these guys have so many different nicknames because they continue to reinvent themselves.
Does Carmelo need a nickname?
Players do this exact same thing. Now, everybody ages different. He was in the same draft class as LeBron James, who's still the best player on his team, and one of the best players, if not the best player in the game.
Okay.
Dwayne Wade, who played more years in college than both of them, who's in his final season and already acknowledged that he's going to retire.
Yep.
So right now, his career could go either way, okay? When you go to OKC, he scoffed at the notion of coming off the bench.
That was a
That
year
right
ago.
there
That was a year
was
ago.
a bad sign. You go into that season, career lows in so many different categories.
Yes. They get bounced in the first round.
You get bounced in the first round, I'm not gonna be here anymore. You and the team agree that just not a good look. They trade you to Atlanta, that's not gonna happen. You land in Houston. The first thing we ask is what? Is he gonna finally come off the bench for the first time in his career?
And anyone who's followed the NBA knows that Mike D'Antoni and Carmelo Anthony have a history.
Correct. And so when we're asking how he's going to adjust to coming off the bench, his answer was, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the team as long as we're winning. That's the underlying part. I think a low moment happened, and I had the remote control in my hand, at Oklahoma City, when he was struggling, couldn't get a field goal. The only basket that he got credit for was actually a goal tip. He was unhappy after that game, clearly, like all of us would have been, but he was more distraught because you start to now think of your journey. I was in Denver. I got out of Denver. I went to New York. Thought me and Amari was going to be able to do work. I did put up numbers. I'm one of the best players in Knicks history, but I didn't get the goal accomplished. Then I go to OKC. We don't hit our mark. I ain't going to Atlanta. Not the way they look.
Well, that was never the plan. So what happens now? What team does he play for now? What's the next chapter in his journey? Because it's not over.
And so now when you end up in Houston, you're put in a position to be the scapegoat regardless. Here's why. We know they're not going to have the best record, which they had last year. We know they're not going to be better defensively. So when they take those steps back, you're one of the people that is going to get credited for that decline. So you got to be lighting it up on the offensive end. Chris Paul got suspended. That didn't help. James Harden got hurt. That didn't help. So now you're on the floor and you're not as effective as you would like to be. The coach sees it that you have a history with. The same coach that feels like you got him fired in New York.
Yeah, he did get him
That
fired.
holds grudges. I know I played for Mike D'Antoni my final season. He holds grudges.
Do you think a little bit of this, not 100%, but not 0%, was Mike D'Antoni revenge?
I'm not saying that it was the plan. I'm saying this is how it plays out. They weren't going to have the best record. They weren't going to be as good defensively. The only thing Carmelo could do is come in and ball at whatever role he was given. If he's not doing that consistently, they can now look to him and be like, oh, That's what's different. We added Carmelo.
Of course.
So he's going to be the scapegoat in this situation. And now he's going to end up, in theory, playing for 5 teams.
Where's he going to end
three
up?
in 3
Really
seasons.
quickly, can you name a team or a couple teams?
You got to ride.
Anybody?
Hey, you got to ride the wave when you get a little bit older. Might as well see what Philly talking about.
You think Elton Brand's going to give him the veteran minimum to go out there and do what he did in Houston?
Go back to the East Coast where you're familiar. You don't have to be the best player, the second best player, the third best player. You don't have to be the best shooter.
This won't
That's
be the last
JJ
time
Redick.
that we talk about where Carmelo Anthony's going to play next, because there'll be some rumors coming out in the next couple of days.
Or Miami with Dwayne Wade. Go full circle. He played with one of his brothers and Chris Paul in Houston. See if he can latch on to Miami. But that Miami gig is dressed in overalls. That's work.
That sounds like work.
So a lot of
I don't
people
know if he's
like
ready for that.
talking that South Beach talk. No, that ain't where they play.